Hey everybody, it's Kevin, and in today's video, I'm going to talk about nighttime binge eating and how to beat nighttime cravings. If you want to control what you eat and control your body, then hit the subscribe button so you never miss a video, and if you want to speak with me personally, there is a link below. Nighttime cravings suck. They have sabotaged my diet and my weight loss efforts and my efforts to overcome my eating disorders many times. Does this sound familiar? You're lying in bed at night, and you're sleeping well, and then all of a sudden your eyes just go like that because you get this craving, you get this urge to eat something, right? You feel hungry, you feel really excited, you feel motivated, and you're just thinking, what am I going to eat? If you have any history of eating disorders or disordered eating, this probably sounds really familiar. And in today's day and age of 24/7 grocery stores, it's really easy to satisfy that craving. In fact, where I live, I have 24/7 drive-thrus. So if you really fancy drive-through meals, then you can get one of those too. My point is, there's nothing stopping you from eating a large volume of food during the night. But the problem with this is that it interrupts your sleep, it affects your physical health, it makes you feel terrible in the morning, it will derail and sabotage your weight loss efforts, and if you have an eating disorder or you're a disordered eater, it will absolutely derail those efforts too. Suffice to say that stopping nighttime eating is really essential. My first tip for you is to eat well during the day. If you're having trouble eating at night, why don't you start by trying to eat well during the day? Are you getting enough? Are you getting enough of the nutrients and the carbohydrates that you need? Yes, you need carbs. Everybody needs carbs. Are you getting enough protein during the day? Probably. Are you getting enough variety during the day? Are you eating enough during the day? I think a lack of calories is probably one of the problems here. I remember breaking a lot of fasts at night because I had gone 2-3 days of fasting because I was compensating for the previous binge, and then I broke the fast like as soon as the clock turned midnight or maybe 1 o'clock, and I would just wait for the clock to tick, tick, tick. That way I could say that I completed 3 or 4 complete days. Yeah, it was really disordered, but that was my thinking back then. Problem was I wasn't getting enough during the day. I was deliberately starving myself in an attempt to regain control and to compensate for the previous binge. It was really just a form, it was kind of like bulimia without the vomiting. It was like I was binging, but I was using fasting as a way to purge. It was just another form of compensatory behavior. I'm not saying that if you eat right during the day that you're not going to get those cravings. Once you create that habit, it takes some time to undo it, to untangle it. So even after you establish a healthy eating regimen during the day, you can still get those cravings at night. So don't feel like if you just start eating enough during the day that those cravings and those urges will stop overnight. It's a first step and it's a necessary step, but it's not the only step, and there's something else that you need to do, and I'm going to explain that a little later in the video. The second thing I want to say is if you're legitimately hungry at night, then be honest with yourself and eat something. It's okay to eat when you're hungry. Sometimes you're just hungry at 2 or 3 o'clock. Maybe you had a really busy day, maybe you had a travel day, maybe you didn't eat enough for whatever reason the day before. Maybe you missed dinner, or maybe you just didn't have a good dinner and now you want to eat something. If you're truly feeling hungry, I'm not going to say no. There's no law that says you can't eat at 3 in the morning. I've eaten at every hour of the day at least once in the last 3 or 4 years. That's just the way it goes. Not too long ago, I woke up with some like hunger pains, and I don't know why, but I did. And I had some carrots and I had a banana or something. I didn't feel bad about it. I mean, it was unusual, but I wasn't gonna say, okay, it's 2 in the morning, can't eat until 11 or whatever. You know, it's outside of my window, or I'm supposed to be intermittent fasting. You know, screw that. If you get really hungry and that's what your intuition is telling you, then eat something light. Now here's my third tip for you, and this is a segue. Don't eat stuff that's really high in sugar and flour and fat. Don't eat peanut butter during the night, is what I'm saying. Don't open the carton of ice cream. Don't open the bag of cookies or the bag of chips. Keep it really light. You probably don't need a lot at night to satisfy whatever craving you have. You can probably get away with some fruits and some vegetables, some foods that are high in fiber and water, maybe some protein. A protein shake might not be a bad idea, Although if you want something to chew, that's not going to work. My point is, keep the foods that are high in fat and sugar to an absolute minimum. In fact, keep it to 0. And try not to eat anything that's really high in calories. Remember, you just want to eat enough to take the edge off the hunger, because you're going to wake up in a few hours anyway. And that leads me into my next point, is when you get that craving or that urge to binge at night, just remember that you have to wake up in the morning and you have to show up for the world. How are you going to show up and go to work, or if you're in college or grad school, you got a class to go to, or maybe you have some social function? How are you going to do that if you just binge, or even worse, if you just binge and purge at night? You're not going to be 100%. So you're not only cheating yourself, you're cheating other people that are relying on you to show up. How do you want to wake up at 6 or 7 in the morning? I want to wake up refreshed. I want to wake up like I got a good night of sleep, even if I didn't. But I certainly don't want to wake up with a ton of food in my stomach or in my intestines. I don't want to feel bloated. I don't want to feel groggy. I don't want to feel like crap in the morning. So when I get cravings or an urge to eat at night, it's okay. But so if you get a craving or an urge to binge at night, just remember you have to wake up in a few hours. How do you want to wake up? Taking a few seconds to ask yourself that question and imagining the two different scenarios. One scenario you binge and another scenario you don't. That's really going to help you. All you have to do is think about what's going to happen if you decide to binge. What's that going to make you feel like? Oh yeah. Then that's going to be a deterrent from binging. It's not the ultimate solution to stopping this behavior, but just taking a few seconds and thinking about what it is that you want and how you want to feel in a few hours, this will really help you. If you do wake up during the night, just ask yourself, are you really hungry or are you just bored? I've made a video before about eating out of boredom. It came out not too long ago, but I think that's an emotion that people aren't comfortable with these days. We're an overstimulated society. We have gadgets and gizmos and notifications and instant communication and microwaves, and we expect a response in 10 seconds. We don't want to wait for anything anymore. I don't think humans are comfortable with boredom just in general, but I think it's gotten a lot worse in this day and age because we are so connected and we are so wired. So when we wake up and we don't have any work to do and we can't really concentrate, we can't really be productive at that hour. Some people can be. But it's kind of that gray zone. It's like you're awake, but you can't really concentrate and do anything that's productive. Maybe you can watch TV, but the worst thing you can do is put a lot of food into your system that you don't need. If you are hungry at night, give yourself permission to eat a little bit. The last thing you want to do is put a bunch of food into your system that you don't need, and you're only putting it in your system because you're bored and you don't know what else to do, and you're uncomfortable with the feeling that you are awake at 1 a.m. and there's really nothing to do and you can't concentrate and you don't feel like doing anything, but you can't sleep. It's a really bad area to be in. It's a really vulnerable area to be in. But trust me, the worst thing you can do is put a bunch of fat and sugar into your body at that hour. My next tip for you is to think about sleep hygiene. What is your routine in the last 30 minutes of a day? I think the way you wake up is the way you go to bed. I got this from Hal Elrod. He said one reason people don't wake up well and they hit the snooze alarm is because they didn't go to bed the right way. So if you tell yourself that you're going to wake up refreshed tomorrow morning, that's probably how you're going to wake up. But if you're watching a horror movie before you go to bed, you're probably not going to sleep well. I mean, I wouldn't sleep well, but if you're checking email and you're doing really stressful things and you're listening to loud music and you just worked out and you're watching a loud movie, if you don't give yourself time to decompress, you're not going to sleep well. It's like landing a plane. You can't go from 30,000 feet to the runway in 30 seconds. How long does it take to land a plane? Usually they start the initial descent, 30 minutes before you land? Okay, that's 30 minutes. So why don't you give yourself 30 minutes before you do that? Eliminate the distractions, eliminate the noise, read a book, listen to an audiobook. That's even better. But don't do anything that's really going to stimulate you. Try to minimize the blue light on your computer screen, or just turn down the brightness level. Don't listen to loud music. Don't listen to or don't watch movies that have a lot of CGI and a lot of lights. Maybe watch something that's really simple, like a drama. I also don't recommend eating 1 to 2 hours before you go to bed. This isn't an iron law or anything, but it does help. You want to be in rest and digest mode when you go to bed. So let's do a summary here. How do you stop binging at night, and how do you beat those late night cravings? 1, eat well during the day. 2, have good sleep hygiene. Remember, 30 minutes before the bed, you really need to start that process. 3, give yourself permission to eat at night, but don't eat stuff that's high in sugar, flour, or fat. 5, don't forget that you have to wake up in the morning. How do you want to feel in the morning? Ask yourself this question before you decide to eat something. 6, don't eat because you don't know what else to do and you're bored and you can't concentrate and there's nothing else to do at 2 in the morning. My next tip for you is to not eat while you're distracted. If you're going to eat at that hour and you're legitimately hungry and you've given yourself permission to eat, fine. Don't do it while you're watching videos or you're watching movies or you're trying to do homework. Just focus on the meal. We don't do this enough, I don't think. All the time, every time we eat, we're doing something else. We're doing work, we're doing schoolwork, we're reading something, we're staring at our phone or whatever. It's like we can't eat without distraction these days. It's a really bad habit. I think it's actually contributing to obesity and overweight. Go back and watch my video on "This Video Will End Eating Disorders." That's the title of it. I'll put an iCard above. But that's one of the things that I cite. That's one of the problems that I cite, is that our behavior has been altered. We are always looking for some distraction. We're looking for the next hit of dopamine. This is why you're seeing the rise of dopamine fast. I think there's something to this. I'll try it one day and I'll make a video about it. Hope you found this video educational and entertaining. Don't forget, if you want to speak with me personally, there is a link below. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And if you liked this video, I'm sure you'll like one of the videos that you see on the screen. Click one of them and I'll see you there.